The prince is giving a ball. The prince is giving a ball.
Cinderella's actually always been my favorite princess. Even like the Disney version of it, I just love Cinderella. I like the story. I feel like I think of the music a lot though.
First of all, can we just say that this is the Cinderella? Like, we have 1,000 renditions and versions of Cinderella, but this is the Cinderella. I don't care what anyone says.
You know, that was history. It was groundbreaking. It was a moment, and it's something I am proud to be a part of, that I witnessed. I remember watching it for the very first time, and when I was 7 years old, and now being 33 and celebrating the 25th anniversary of this film, and it was just it was a beautiful full circle moment.
And I think it's extremely important for the current generation to have that. You know, we have a Black Little Mermaid. Like they are so important to have. Representation is important, but also to know that this is a part of your history. This isn't a thing that started with Little Mermaid. This has been a thing, right? Also, for them to understand icons. Everyone is a performer, everyone's an artist, everyone's a professional, right? Everyone's a celebrity. But to be able to see hard hitters who created arts and who broke the mold years ago, before most of these kids were born, all of these kids were born, like, to have access to that is extremely important.
I think about my kids, I'm like, there's not gonna be a time that they're like, oh, I didn't know about like the stuff from our age group, because they're gonna be raised on it like it's normal TV. So I'm very happy it's on Disney, so like people get to experience it a little bit more for sure.
I just hope that it can be as impactful for them as it was for us, especially, you know, Callie play Little Mermaid. Like, you're seeing all of these Black women on screen. It is such a pivotal moment for our young Black girls and boys, like, to be able to see that, you know, hey, we can do this too. Like, even if it's not to be on screen, you can be whatever you want to be no matter what. So I'm very, very happy they're doing that. Very happy that they're opening up that dialogue again, you know?
I would definitely say that this Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella is definitely a comfort movie for me. I remember there was one time in college, I think this was maybe my freshman or sophomore year, they canceled school because snow was just like taking over. So they were like, it's just too much. So we all did a sleepover at my friend's apartment. And we just watched old movies, like old Disney movies. And one of the options was the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. My friend Dom, I remember she was so excited to watch it. She was like, can we please watch it? I'm like, actually, that's not a bad choice. I'm here for that. I'm actually here for that. I think it's very important to share that message and for people to see such a diverse cast. They were ahead of themselves when they did this, because seeing as though now that's the frontier that we're on and trying to push more of, I would say.
They still need to release the soundtrack. That's what I'm waiting for on streaming platforms. Still haven't done that, but I'm excited whenever they want to drop it. So
this new generation getting the opportunity to see it is pretty dope. They get to see and feel everything that we felt when the movie first dropped, and just see Cinderella being played by someone, you know, I guess not the norm or what they're used to or certain people are used to. And just to see this movie just be, 25 years later, just be just as amazing as it was when it first came out.
I do think that it will hold a lot more weight nowadays, because I think that we're in a more cognitively inclusive society. And so seeing like the beautiful, like diverse backgrounds and like people involved in the film is going to actually be really welcomed by the younger generation, as well as my younger niece. She's 4, and so I really want her to enjoy it too.
Like seeing a brown girl do stuff like that. I've dressed up as her for Halloween, like, so she's definitely been like, okay, Black Cinderella, we're gonna be like that.
It opened me up to diverse casting. It opened me up to knowing that, you know, there is room for people. You know, there's room for voices like Brandy. You know, most people kind of do your typical cookie cutter musical theater voice, but Brandy isn't that, you know? It opened up my eyes as an artist to tone. Shortly after that is when I also got hooked onto the Full Moon album by Brandy, which I still play till this day.
It was sort of like this soft welcome. It was like a nod to it's okay to be different. Not only can you be different, you can be represented.
And I feel like the beautiful thing about this film is that it stayed with me, and so when I go back to watch it, there's something new that I uncover about myself. But I feel like at the time, I was going through, I guess, a lot of the things that she was going through in terms of like in my own way, of course, like socially. And so I feel like I related to her quite a bit. Of course, she's a Black girl, and so that was beautiful to see. It was beautiful to see her braids curled and done up in a style like that. I had never seen that before. She was beautiful. She is beautiful. But to also just see a Black girl have such great character despite her conditions, I think that just set a really good example for me as a child.
Being a Black boy who was very into musicals and just theater and musical theater, I think it impacted me a lot and when I was growing up, Brandy was also very popular, so I was seeing her everywhere. She was still on Moesha. My sister had a Brandy doll, and then she was Cinderella. So I think even seeing her in all the places I saw her with a voice that I love and I still love, like I adore the voice, I think it just really kind of shaped my interests about like music in general and just wanting to perform, because I'm like, that is amazing. I'm always for a story with some music in it.
It was definitely one of the first films that I saw that was a musical, and it kind of opened my eyes to that, that world, to where now if it wasn't for films like Cinderella, I wouldn't be able to enjoy different musicals that I love now, and I feel like it was a great introduction into the musical theater world for me.
I think this movie was done with intention, and that's an element that draws people to it because they knew what they were doing, they knew what they wanted, and they put care into, every detail of this film. And I like that because you didn't have to invest any money in that. I mean, especially during that time, but Whitney, and the rest of her team and producers and everything like that, I think what they did in terms of the costumes, the music, they sung it the way that we as Black people would sing those songs, and we made it our own, and it was something totally new, totally different, and totally authentic to us, but it was all done with intention. And I think people watching that knew that, they sensed that, even though they may not have known everything that went in behind that to do that, but it shows.
And to Whitney, may you rest in power. Thank you for deciding to put so much faith and love into being a producer on this film, and having this be a part of your legacy. I hope she knows how grateful we all are that this exists.
There's music in you, yes, Miss Whitney Houston. Yes, there is. Yes, there is, and it's because of the way you sing it that I believe. Right? Because that was also the type of music I had grown up hearing in church. That style of singing felt way more relatable because of the way she was singing it, because of what I had already kind of been growing up hearing in church and on the radio. Even that was making me relate to it more, because you singing it this way and not the way that I've been hearing it in Cinderella, Disney Cinderella, which is still, I'm sure, singing about hope. But the way that I can absolutely remember the way that Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella made me feel, even all these years later, that is priceless and untouchable.